This is episode 37 of the Gruler Nation Podcast. My name is Robert Gruler, joined today by my friend Tim Hillcove of smartrapcom. They do vehicle wraps. They got a very interesting business. I've had the chance to look around at their workshop and kind of get a tour of the place. So we have a lot to talk about. But Tim, first of all, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Rob.
So give me a little bit of a background on Smart Wrap. So I know you guys do a lot more than just put stickers on cars, but kind of walk me through what it is you do or what your specialty is.
Well, our specialty is vehicle wraps for businesses. We focus on trying to build really effective messaging that builds brand recognition, and also like a positive, memorable impression for potential clients.
Yeah, so it's a little bit more than just ordering a magnet on the internet and slapping it on the back of your car.
Right.
You guys sit down with people and you do a full sort of what's your message, what's your market.
Well, yeah, we also find out what are they hoping will happen.
Right.
So the destination, we need to figure that out first. And then once we know, okay, what they're hoping that people will give them a call when they need it, then this needs to be really memorable, not a buy now, click now kind of, it's not a transaction. It's a long-term branding exercise.
Walk me through that conversation. So people come to you and how does that even start? So somebody buys a new van, they've got a carpet cleaning company or something like that. They come into your office, they say, hey, I got to do something with this.
Yeah, basically or they've seen content that we've put out, or something's happened that's caused them to find us. And then they come in and they say, it goes one or two ways. The better way is, hey, I saw all your stuff and we really like what you do, and we just want you to take over and tell us, what's the best option.
So you find a lot of people are sort of deferring to your expertise on it.
And then the not as, sometimes people have built businesses before, so they do have experience in building a brand and they know what they want, and we can work with that. And other times, people have some pretty specific, I guess, a wish list.
Yeah.
And I just know that wish list is not going to get to the destination. You're going to have 5 bullet points, and it's all disjointed, and you're expecting that to build your brand. It's just not going to get there. It's like saying, I'm buying a Yugo, and I'm going to be pulling my boat to the lake.
Right.
And you're like, that's not going to pull the boat.
Right. So what sort of elements are you looking for in a brand or in something that you put on the side of a car?
In order to be remembered and all that stuff.
Yeah. When you're going through the design process or the conversation with these people, in other words, I wouldn't really know where to start. I'm a law firm. We do have a company car. We have guys who drive around a lot, but we don't have anything on there.
So how I would start is just, again, find out the destination. What are you hoping will happen? Where do you want your business to go?
Well, we want more phone calls. We want people to see the phone number and call us.
Okay.
But how do you convey that in a smart wrap or in a vehicle wrap?
By having them remember it, because there's a lot more people that are going to need your law group services in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Than in the next 5 minutes as your car is driving down the road.
Right.
So that has to be committed to memory, so that, think of it as grocery shopping, right?
Right.
You're going to walk down the aisles. It's time to buy some pasta sauce. Just going to randomly pick a sauce, or you're going to try and remember a commercial, or, maybe what your wife or girlfriend asked you to get.
Right.
Or anything that you can draw on to make that decision.
Right.
And that's what people are going to do the next time something happens. They need a legal situation resolved. They can Google it. They can ask a friend. They used to look in the yellow pages. That's never going to happen again.
Sure, right.
But something like what you're doing with podcasting and stuff like that's going to help with that branding. If they see the car or cars, like you have 10 cars, and they see that, once or twice a week for the next several years, at least you will be one of the 3 or 4 places that they're going to call to inquire.
Right. Yeah, and people don't. I think people kind of misunderstand, or they just don't notice about how much of that process is happening subconsciously or under or outside of your kind of active thought, your internal dialogue that you have with yourself. This idea that you are seeing the pasta commercial, to use your analogy,
Yeah.
20 times. You never think of whatever that brand is, but you go to the store and just kind of instinctively you say, I know that one, or I'm familiar with that one. And so you grab it over the next one.
Yeah. You probably hardly even think of it, but you're making a choice somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's happening with vehicles.
Right.
So the people that you're working with, are they, obviously there's some initial investment that people need to make when they're getting their vehicle done. They buy a new van, the dealer's not going to put on a nice wrap. But you guys will, have the consultation with them. You'll walk them through them. You'll do your analysis. You'll also design the whole thing for them.
Correct. Yeah. So what's happened with a lot of dealers now is you can actually finance the wrap as well.
You can roll that into the.
So it's sort of like buying other items. Like if you're a contractor, you can buy all the stuff that you need to operate the van, like the shelving or the tool, not the loose tools, but like, all of the stuff that goes in it, and include, I think, up to a certain amount for vehicle graphics. So that's a relatively new thing that the manufacturers have caught on to, and it's a pretty cool idea.
So they'll roll it into their lease or into their loan that essentially they're giving you.
Now, obviously, if you don't want to pay interest on a wrap for 5 years, then it's a good idea to
set
pay
aside.
up front.
Yeah. Okay.
So initially, you invest in the wrap, and then go from there. Yeah.
And do you guys have partnerships with some dealerships and things that you work with, or do they contact you sort of independently?
They contact us independently.
Yeah. Okay. And then how about? I mean, obviously, you guys have a big growing business. I've had the chance to come visit your facility, and do you find any pushback from people who come in and they say, I want this done. I know it's going to cost X, Y, and Z. What's going to be my ROI on it? How do you have that conversation with people?
I don't have a lot of the ROI conversations, actually. I would imagine that would happen if I was attempting to sell to somebody that wasn't asking about this, and I was trying to convince them that this was a good idea. So I'd say 99% of the conversations are with people that at least think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
We just need to convince them that this is the best path. Like, this overall idea is good, but if you don't do the right thing, then it's not going to be good.
Yeah. So you're not finding you're not having to hard sell a lot of people. People come in, they're kind of pre-sold. They want this done on there.
Exactly.
Because I could imagine a conversation, people come in and they say, yeah, it's going to cost, what's kind of a mid-tier product for you guys?
Anywhere from, say, $1,500 to $2,500,
which is totally reasonable. But you can certainly see that people, so we pick the high end product, $2,500 to wrap my car, wrap my van, or whatever it is. People are going to want to go, okay, are people going to call me as a result of that? Am I going to earn new business, or is this just a superficial topical thing?
Right. You have to, and that's where you break it down by asking them what kind of business they're into. A lot of times, if you're in the home service-based industry, that's a pretty quick ROI, especially if your service is, more higher end.
Right.
2 air conditioners installed.
Right.
I'm not sure. I have no idea what the profit margin on that is, but I'd imagine the actual dollar amount is a lot more than, say, a person that sells $1 widgets.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
You'd have to sell $2,000 $1 widgets.
Right, in order to make that back, yeah.
So I generally have a quick conversation, say, what do you actually do? Like, how quick is the ROI? Like real estate. I mean, you sell one house, and not only you pay for the wrap, you pay for another car.
Right.
So
right.
It's a really good investment for real estate. Yeah,
and especially for people who are driving a lot, right? I mean, it's a moving billboard.
Exactly. Driving a lot helps too, right? So if it's just to the store and home, and a lot of times, I actually, some businesses it's not going to work and they don't drive enough, and I actually let them know, hey, for the $1,500 to $2,500 you might spend on this, I think you get a lot better results from a Facebook ad where people can actually click on your link and purchase the product.
Right.
And if you spend $1,500 on Facebook ads for a $10 widget that it just makes more sense than one wrap driving around Phoenix. It's just not going to work.
Right. Yeah, or people just driving it from their home to their office or something like that. Yeah, we do it. I mean, because we have, our attorney, we represent people all over Arizona, and then we say, okay, if you take the company car to a court, you literally park it in the court parking lot. Yeah. And so anybody who's going into the court facility can see, can say, hey, those guys are here.
Or if you had a tie-in with, I don't know if you would have a ad or a sponsorship at, say, a football, basketball, or hockey game, where you could actually park your vehicle outside as people are walking into the stadium. They see the full wrap R&R Law Group, and then when they go in, they might see that banner ad going around on the billboard.
Yeah, we have like a sticker on the back of our windshield that just looks terrible, so we need to have a conversation offline about what we can do about it. But so just before we I'd love to know a little bit more about how you got into it and what you guys are doing there. But so people know what types of solutions. So when you say a vehicle wrap, you don't necessarily have to wrap the entire vehicle, right? You guys can kind of segment it into different products.
You need to wrap at least 50%, I think.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not like you have a sliding scale where it just becomes more or less and less effective as you wrap less. I think you hit a certain point and then it's just not effective. It goes from like 50% effective to 0 real fast.
If it's not enough, or if it's too much.
If it's not enough.
Yeah, if it's not enough.
Like it almost like if you're looking at something and it's getting darker and darker and darker, and all of a sudden you can't see it. It's not like it's a pretty quick threshold where you just aren't able to comprehend it.
So you guys basically started about half the vehicles getting covered with logo, graphics, colors, phone numbers, whatever you guys decide. Yeah. And it tiers up, so you can do the entire from about 50% all the way up to 100%. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you want your logo big and be remembered, then probably at least 75% would be a good start.
Yeah. Yeah, and this stuff it's basically a big sticker, right? I mean, you guys are printing a big thing on a thick laminate. Can you walk us through that?
Basically, it's kind of like wrapping paper. So if you've wrapped things at Christmas time, except for, unfortunately, it's not a box. It's got all kinds of curves and stuff like that. Right. So you have to heat up the material to make it contour to the shape of the vehicle. But it's basically like that. Or consider it like wallpaper. And so you match up the graphics in panels and then apply it to the vehicle.
But you have templates for all the different models and things. So
correct.
You design for the specific car.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So you're not printing something and then
trying to make it fit.
And try to make it fit. It fits. Yeah. Yeah. And so there's not any weird wrinkles or anything like that.
Yeah.
Are there vehicles that you don't do?
Well, just in terms of projects, mostly, some people like to get the color of their car changed. Mm-hmm. And in order to do that, I think really nicely, you need to take the car apart and get in behind all of the areas that you can't do unless you take the car apart. And since we're focused on commercial, we don't do that.
So people come in and they say, I don't like my black car, I want you to turn it red.
Yeah, but if let's say it's a red or yellow car and you want it black, you can imagine that if you cut a piece of film in half like this where the door jamb is, there's going to be a little strip of bright yellow sticking out, and it's not going to look right. So if you take the door off, wrap behind there, and wrap, like really take it apart, take 5 days to 7 days to wrap it, then that's going to look great. But the problem is it's 5 to 7 days that
you could be pumping other cars through there.
We need to do other stuff.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
There are places that'll do that. It'll cost quite a bit.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know why you would do that, but
well, you do it on stuff where you just can't find a paint job that'll work for that. It's real tough to get a satin paint job. Okay. Without any sort of runs in the finish. Okay. And to really have it look nice. Yeah. I mean, you could probably get some rattle can primer if you were really hurting for a paint job, but.
Okay. And what type of material on it? How durable is it? We live in Arizona. The sun beats the hell out of everything.
Right. It's a lot of times I get requests for people think that they can wrap their 4x4 and go bushwhacking.
Right.
And it's a soft vinyl, so it'll scratch just as easy as your paint, except for it'll also tear.
Right.
And then again with the sun and the UV, and we don't get a lot of rain here, but when we get dew, everything that's in the atmosphere, all the pollutants will settle on your car, and that's what a lot of times you'll see cars out here. The roof and the hood is oxidized really, really bad, and that's that overnight dew settling on there. It's acidic.
Right.
So things like parking your vehicle covered overnight. I try to cover it in the daytime too, but overnight will really help.
Yeah. And then how long is the process? So from start to finish, somebody comes in and they say, I just got this new van, I got a new company, I want to start it for my floral business or whatever.
Yeah. Average is about 10 to 20 days for a design that we don't have anything for.
Okay. So that includes the creative
As well.
So that's you saying, okay, you don't have a logo even. We're going to run through and we're going to design the whole thing for you.
The logo itself will be a different project.
Okay.
Because that, again, our main focus is vehicle wraps, but because of that, we've been asked to do other things. And so, logos has become quite a big part of what we do.
I've noticed this. Yeah, a friend of ours, Jason, I think you guys did everything for him.
Yeah.
Started a new business, and he came in with an idea. He came out with a logo and a vehicle wrap and all that stuff. So,
because again, getting back to that memorable and effective, I was noticing that, or we were noticing that the logos is the main part of that.
Sure.
That's the main factor. And when you start out with a logo that's not that great, the results are going to be the same.
Right.
So we started convincing and trying to push people to, hey, look, this logo is really...
Yeah, we'll put that crap logo on your van if you want, but yeah.
Yeah, let's make this better. And then that worked, and then it started to lead into other things, websites now.
Really?
Yeah, because imagine like you've got a really great logo, really great wrap. People end up Googling you, and you've got a website that's not responsive, that you can't click on the buttons, that's half built with some Latin still in there from the testing, and now
that's very valuable. So yeah, you can put the best wrap, the best logo on, and if people click over to your website and they can't go from there, that pipeline's broken.
Right. They're not going to make, who makes that kind of effort, right? Like, hey, this doesn't work, I'm going to the next guy.
Right. You just hop on a Google and find the next one. Yeah. Well, that's a valuable service, and it's great that you point that out to people, because I think a lot of businesses are a little bit more transactional. Bring your car in, we'll put a wrap on it. Good luck to you. You're on your own.
Yeah. One and done.
Yeah. Yeah. And your culture is a little bit different than that. Speaking of culture, when I visited your place, it was different than what I was expecting. There was, it was a little bit less, I would say less, kind of a corporate feel.
What were you expecting?
I was expecting more of a corporate feel, kind of a bigger, less personal type of approach, more like like one of the big auto repair shops or something like that. Yeah. You go in and it's pretty formal and all of that, but I got there and people were having lunch and everybody gave me a tour, and everybody had a lot more personality than I was expecting.
Okay, good.
Which was I thought great. Everybody kind of showed me what they did, and they you had some people had their guitars there. I think they had their Christmas lights up.
Yeah. Well, we can't help ourselves, right? That's who we are. So.
Well, I thought that was interesting. I mean, I know you're a shareholder. You're the general manager of the place. Yeah. What's your thought process behind, or how did that develop? How did that culture kind of come about?
I don't know. It's just who we are. If a creative work environment, a fun place to work, get to be who you are.
Yeah. So it just kind of developed organically.
Yeah. I mean, it's just how it is. I mean, I could not imagine being in a creative agency like this and saying, yeah, you just keep your personality at home, please.
Mm-hmm, right. Right.
That would be crushing, especially to a creative person, right?
Yeah. How did you get into this business?
We kind of got into it by accident. We had a large format printer that we were printing on a substrate for something else. And we decided not to do that. It was going to take a lot of marketing money to build this new company and business. And people on the team suggested that we do wraps because we have the printer.
Mm-hmm.
I have a little bit of background from art school and marketing,
Mm-hmm.
and we just went for it. Just jumped right in.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's no, online training course to learn how to put wraps on vehicles.
Well, there wasn't in 2009.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So, and so you guys just kind of had to figure it out.
yeah, basically.
And that includes designing the templates and the logos and all of that. I mean,
Pretty much, yeah. We went through a lot of different managers that we learned a little bit from each,
mm-hmm.
and then just by doing, it's hard to explain other than just sometimes you can learn from a book or a video or whatever.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times you just have to learn by doing.
Yeah, they call it that figure it out muscle.
Yeah.
That attorneys or that entrepreneurs have. Attorneys do not have it, most of them.
Yep.
But okay, that's great. And so you also have a podcast that you're running out of there?
Yeah, kind of trying to get more people involved in the idea behind branding.
Yeah.
Not just how do you put vinyl on a vehicle or how do you hit a button and
yeah,
that kind of thing. Why are we doing this? Why are you doing that? What kind of ideas can come out of this? And it's called the Branding Iron.
The Branding Iron.
Yeah. Right now it's just on Spotify, but we're working on getting it on iTunes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And why do you think that is sort of an overlooked thing in business? The branding, or at least thinking through that process?
A lot of times it is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I don't think it's out of neglect or malice or anything. I think it's out of that things are going all right.
Mm-hmm.
Like the owner of a business has enough personality and is good enough at sales that they have built a sizable business. So they don't think there's anything wrong. But they've managed to do this in spite of the headwinds created by a bad brand.
Right.
And you can just imagine if the brand was so much better, then it'll be more memorable, and it wouldn't rely on this single person that once they retire and that person's gone, then what have you got?
Right.
Most businesses should probably have some sort of succession plan, and if it's all based on the one guy, it's sort of like a Steve Jobs situation where, that I'm glad he was able to sort that out a little bit before the transition. But could you imagine if there wasn't that, and just the first time he left Apple, look what happened.
Right. Well, I think there's still a big part of the Apple community that says, Steve would have never allowed you guys to do that or do this.
Right.
And I do agree with you that it's important to maybe build your business less around a personality and more around a set of principles.
Right.
Or
yeah. So that's why we call it Smart Rap and not like Tim Rap or something like that, right? So,
right.
So it's not about me. It's the culture of the company, like you said, and this is what we as a group, believe and decide to do. Yeah,
and I agree with you. A lot of businesses sort of just build stuff out of necessity. When we launched our law firm, that's what we did. We didn't sit down. We didn't have the capital. We didn't have the time. We didn't have the thought, the forethought.
A scrappy little firm that just,
we started it out of a spare bedroom in my house, and we, I put together a logo that we don't use anymore because we had to go back. Mm-hmm. We tried to go get a trademark on that, and somebody else was using something a little too similar, and we have ambitions to go across states and things like that. So
that's a real important thing that you just brought up there. There is quite a big debate on LinkedIn amongst people that make a living at graphic design about places like Fiverr. Mm-hmm. And I can't tell you how many artists on Fiverr.
Explain what Fiverr is, just for people who don't know.
It's a crowdsourcing, crowdsourced graphic design type thing.
Yeah.
And you'll find artists on there that have profiles, and they say, "Yeah, I can design your logo for you for $5 or $10 or $100 or whatever."
Yeah.
Or you say, "I need a logo designed," and then 10 people will compete for that. Where you look at their profile and all of the images of the work that they say they've done, I can tell are directly lifted from my friends' websites. And, at least once a week they're sending cease and desist.
That's crazy.
Like,
shameless.
it's brutal. And I mean, a lot of these guys are, I didn't know that. Oh, this is just an example of what I can do. And you're like, you can't do that. You can't use other people's designs as an example of what you can do.
So they are actually taking the work and passing it off as their own, or they're like stealing the bigger concepts of the art?
They take the actual work.
That's crazy.
It's like saying, I don't know, like...
Yeah, I designed the Pepsi logo.
Yeah, there you go. Like, these are great logos. Look at all the brands that I...
Yeah,
and
Pepsi,
you don't
Facebook,
actually explain
Microsoft,
it, right? Yeah. And then you see it locally, too, where you're like, I know that design, just a couple of tweaks is this other guy's work out of Florida or wherever.
Yeah.
And so it's a real risk. And so be super, super careful if you think you're going to save some money and then have to deal with a cease and desist.
Yeah.
Unwrap all of your vehicles, take away all that marketing stuff, redesign your website.
It's what we had to do. Yeah. We didn't get a cease and desist or anything like that, but we had a logo. We liked it. We were running with it. People were responding well. It was the R&R. It was the R&R back to back, and then there was like an ampersand sign on top of it.
Yeah.
And so we started running with that, started printing stuff. It was on our website, did all the stuff with it. And we took it to an attorney, a trademark attorney, to say, okay, we want to go protect this thing.
Yeah.
They did their background search. They found some tiny family law firm in like Indiana somewhere. It's some small, tiny town that was using it before we were. So we said, okay, no, we got to.
Yeah, it's not worth it, right?
It's not worth it. We got to switch it up. It's just not worth finding it. So we did. We were still early in our founding, but it was it was a big deal because we had to we had already. Had
imagine if you'd paid somebody $500 for that.
Right. I would not be happy about it. Yeah. And it was very similar because it was and it was not a novel thing or anything. I mean, it's an R&R back to back. There's a ton of that stuff. But yeah, and then we went through and then rebranded and it was a big process, but you certainly want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence, especially before you got a fleet of 20 vans you want to wrap
right
at $2,000 a pop. That's a big investment to come back and say, well, we got cease and desist on all that stuff.
Yeah. I know the other thing that you get is you won't get somebody else's per se copied work, but you'll get is there's a lot of what's known as clip art out there.
Yeah.
And so you've got a character, like a cartoon type character, and he's been made for landscaping, right? So he's got a rake and a hat, and he's got everything. And then the same character is for pest control, and he's got the same hat,
right?
But instead of a rake, he's got like a pest canister on his back and a spray nozzle,
right?
Or and it's the same thing over and over and over. And I'm starting to see it all over town now. You can't trademark that.
Yeah,
you're basically, I don't know.
Yeah, or you're a graphic designer or somebody, they didn't get a license from it. They're just basically stealing somebody else's intellectual property.
Yeah, or even they did, but the same thing is, you've let the same guy with all that's changes is a little logo that's different on the guy's hat.
Right.
And now it would be like if everybody in restaurants had Ronald McDonald as their mascot.
Right.
But they had their own company logo on his head.
Right.
It's not
McDonald's would not be happy about that.
Yeah, and every time you drive around with your mascot, you would be advertising for the more popular person too.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, I thought that was Ronald McDonald. Right,
and there's also the danger that you just kind of slip into obscurity because everybody has that same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have you seen a guy mowing a lawn, on the side of a vehicle? Like, it's not memorable at that point.
Right.
To go back to your original point, you want that brand, you want that logo to pop, you want it to stick, even if it's somewhere down deep in your subconscious somewhere. That way, when when you see it again or when you have an inkling, you're gonna go call them.
It really needs to be disruptive.
Right.
To your normal operations of how you're driving, you're thinking. It needs to disrupt how you normally act, and then you'll be able to remember it.
Right.
So if you're thinking, like, a lot of time that can be done with color. Mm-hmm. So plumbers are blue and landscapers are green, but what if the plumber was purple and the landscaper was yellow? That automatically, now you're interrupting that pattern. Yeah. And giving somebody a chance to remember.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of value to that. And the work that you guys do it pops. It does pop. There's some on the TV behind you. There's a rotating image of a number of different vehicles that are totally white, and then they have the wraps on them, and that that's accurate. I mean, I've seen the vehicles in person. They do stand out, and they got a good, deep, vibrant colors on them, and I think that helps. So, tell us a little bit more about the practicalities of it. So, if people are listening to the show, and this sounds like a good solution for a new vehicle, where are you guys located? How do people find you?
We're in Phoenix. You can find us at smartrapcom, or shoot me an email, tim@smartrap.com. I like to keep it super simple, easy to remember.
It is easy, yeah.
And so we're Phoenix based, and
so so people bring their vehicle to you.
Correct.
Where do they bring that?
To our shop up in North Phoenix.
Yeah, in Deer Valley, I think.
Deer Valley Road, yeah. So
Deer Valley Road.
It is. It's a bit of a haul if you're in, Apache Junction. But,
yeah.
If you drive the 101 freeway, we're just off the 101.
Yeah, super easy. I mean, easily accessible. You're in the heart of Phoenix.
Right.
So okay, and then once people drop their vehicle off, so after you've done everything else, you've settled on a design and how much of the vehicle and a logo and a brand and all that stuff, and then it's time to slap that puppy on. How long are people anticipating to leave their vehicle with you?
It's about a day to 2 day process.
So real quick. So they get a ride out, drop it off. 2 days later, they come pick it up.
Yeah. So if it's a half wrap, probably not more than a day, but full wraps a day and a half. And
then they just treat it basically like they treat a regular vehicle with paint.
Yeah, just maybe a little bit more care with it.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't pressure wash it. That kind of thing.
But a standard car wash is fine and everything.
If you want, I would wax it by hand more often than you would normally wash your car.
Yeah.
I would say 1 to 2 times a month minimum.
Yeah.
Keep the wax on there.
Just to keep it glistening and glowing.
You spent $1,500, $2,500 on this.
Yeah.
You'd like it to last at least 3 years or so.
Right.
And if you just never wash it, park it in the sun and leave it there, you're probably going to get about 12 months out of it.
Really? Okay. Yeah, so there's some maintenance that goes into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just like anything else with advertising or marketing. All of that stuff needs to be maintained. Anybody looking for sort of a set it and forget it type of solution to promote their business is, in my opinion, mistaken on how that works.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so you got to be at the forefront of that. Well, awesome. So it's at smartrap.com. You're also on Twitter and Instagram at Tim Hilcove. Hilcove, Hilcove. You've got your podcast, The Branding Iron.
Correct.
That's on Spotify, and so I encourage people to check that out as well. And then, of course, if you actually want some service and you want a good wrap, a nice looking wrap, I've seen the work. Go to smartrap.com or email Tim at smartrap.com. Tim, thanks for being here. I enjoyed talking to you today.
Thanks, Rob.